Alright, well, okay, the purpose of this video, I got a question from one of my subscribers about who would I like to see the UFC sign in the 5 weight classes. And, well, there's two ways I could go about this, and one is the kind of realistic way. People who, let's say, are likely to talk with the UFC and sign with the UFC, and whether the UFC will do it or not, I don't know. Depends on if they feel motivated to. They like to, bring in a guy once in a while that will shake things up. Now, the other way I could do this is I could go the dream way. In a perfect world, I would like to see in the UFC, in one organization, kind of a super league. I'm going to do it the realistic way, just because it might happen, and if I do it the dream way, I might get bummed thinking about the promise the UFC has and the unfulfilledness of it. So I'm going to look at it the realistic way. Okay, starting at heavyweight. Well, the number one guy in this list is Fedor. Of course, he signed with M1, so that probably wouldn't happen. But of the remainder, there's Ben Rothwell, who recently left the IFL. I'd say there's a pretty good chance he could wind up in the UFC. He's got heavy hands, good wrestler, good kicks. He's not easy to submit, not particularly a submission threat, but yeah, he can ground and pound you, he can lay and pray you, he can knock you out standing. And he's got pretty decent cardio. After that, there's Cain Velasquez. Now, a lot of you don't know this guy. He's only had 2 pro fights, and he hasn't fought in a while. At the same time, I don't know of him being retired, so I'm going to put him on this list. He's got great cardio and stamina. He's got pretty good stand-up. He's an excellent wrestler. I mean, very, very good fighter. Out of the American Kickboxing Academy, which has like Koscheck and Josh Thompson's there, Mike Swick, John Fitch, etc. Then after that, I guess heavyweight gets a little shallow at that point, I suppose. There's no one really jumping out at me that I'd like to see UFC sign. I mean, there's a couple of pipe dreams like a Sergey Haratonov or an Alex Emelianenko or Roman Zatsov. Even a Gilbert Yvel maybe comes to mind, or Josh Barnett. But in the realistic side, I guess really Rothwell, Velasquez would be improvements, considerable ones. And I can't really think of a ton of others, unfortunately, which is kind of sad, but I guess that's kind of how the heavyweight division always is, it's a little shallow. At 205, well, easy. Ricardo Arona and Antonio Rogerio Nogueira would be huge additions. Arona is a great grappler. He'll take you down and he'll hold you there. He'll beat you down. Nogueira, great chin, good boxer, great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's the twin brother of Big Nog, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Other than that, there's Melvin Mahoof, although he's very, very one-dimensional. The return of Renato Babalu Sobral would be nice. Can't really think of a ton else. Oh, well, Canadian Roger Holloway would be a nice thing, but I'm a little partial because I'm Canadian. Middleweights, there's a good number here actually. Paulo Fio would be lovely. Great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, good wrestler. Matt Lindland is of course a phenomenal wrestler, trains at a Team Quest. I'd love to see him around again. Yoshihiro Akayama, it's a bit of a pipe dream because he's very, very big in Asia, but a good judoka with some very much improving stand-up. He'd be a great addition. Dennis Kang, who's a just great all-around fighter. Even Murillo Ninja Hua, who's a very good stand-up guy, good BJJ. Cardio's at times a little suspect. He's a bit of an underachiever, but still good fighter. I'd like to see them bring Jason Miller up, Mayhem, and probably Tim Kennedy would be another good idea, who's a protege of Chuck Liddell. I mean, both of those would be solid additions. Nothing groundbreaking, but solid. G-Guard Mosasi, who's got a pretty solid ground game and an excellent striker. He'd be a guy to definitely consider. Frank Shamrock coming back is always a bit of a pipe dream, but you know, if it happened, I'd be happy. Okay, moving down to welterweight now, and there's not a lot of welterweights, and I'll say why. It's because the UFC has actually, you know, produced a lot of the top welterweights, and they are still there. But there are a couple off the top of my head I can think of. Jake Shields, excellent wrestler and grappler, very, very meticulous. Hayato Sakura recently is more or less a welterweight now. I mean, he's fought in the UFC before. It'd be nice to see him back. Rumors that he was going to be back, and then that kind of fell through. Two names to add to the middleweight list. Makoto Takimoto, who's a phenomenal judoka, and also Zelg Glasics, who's got very good stand-up, doesn't need to work on his ground game, and his ability to keep a fight on the feet. That would be very, very much to be desired. Well, like I said, like at welterweight, there's not a lot that really comes to mind. Mike Pyle would be another one. He's a all-around good fighter. Jay Haran, he's fought in the UFC before. He's a great wrestler, improving stand-up. Another 185er to add to the list would be Benji Radic, good wrestler with some great stand-up. Lightweights, there's a lot. Tetsuya Crusher Kawajiri, very good wrestler with heavy hands. Mitsuhiro Ishida, great takedown guy. Joaquin Hellboy Hansen, all-around very good fighter, very entertaining fighter. Shinya Aoki wouldn't really be a realistic possibility, but let's throw him in there. Great, phenomenal submission guy. Jesus Cavalcanti, who's got very good wrestling, getting very good stand-up. Luis Azevedo, although he's kind of lost his ability to take a hit, but still another good fighter. He'd still be a good addition, very good. Luis Buscape Firmino, great BJJ, good striking, good wrestling, total package. It's kind of about it, I guess. There's a couple of WEC guys like Razor Rob McCullough that really should be up in the UFC, but looking down that, that's a fairly complete list of guys I'd like to see the UFC sign. Will they? Maybe one or two, but I mean, it's not. They don't see the need to, and I don't blame them. I mean, they run things the cheapest way they can, and that is signing enough high-profile fighters to keep the hardcore fans somewhat watching, and not overdoing it, because the casual fan doesn't really care. Another guy to add, Vitor Shaolin Ribeiro would be a good addition. Another phenomenal submission grappler. Has some decent hands, but I'd say the grappling game is definitely his forte. Gilbert Melendez is another one. Cardio machine. Good wrestler, good bad guy, and why not Nick Diaz? Anyways, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoy.